The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
All right, let's talk about the liberal gene. Scientists at the University of California, San Diego, and Harvard determined that people who carry a variant of the DRD4 gene are more likely to be liberals as adults. But it's not just the gene, Lewis. It also depends on how many friendships did you have during high school. If you were more social and had more friends during high school, you are more likely to be predisposed to end up as a liberal as an adult. What do you think of that?
Strange.
Incredible insight, Lewis. The four authors, including UCSD's James Fowler, wanted to explore if politics were heritable by identifying a specific gene variant associated with political leaning. This is interesting because we always talk about nature versus nurture, and we know that the children of conservatives are certainly more likely to be conservative, and same thing applies to liberals, but it may not be just an issue of that's how they're raised. It may actually be at least partially genetic.
How big was the test group?
The test group was, I don't have it in front of me. It was a real test. I mean, there's a full 80-page write-up about it. It's a legitimate organization. And when I read this, I thought, so hold on a second. If you're more isolated and socially challenged during high school, you're more likely to end up conservative. I mean, it almost seems obvious, does it not? And I know that will make a lot of people angry, but there seems to be some logic in that.
I don't know.
There's one person that really strikes a chord, Lewis, that we know, who was not very social during high school and who fits this bill exactly. That,
are we talking, I mean...
You know who we're talking about. Somebody who is very into guns.
I fail to see how this could affect you on fiscal issues.
Lewis, you're reading too much into this. This is not...
It's just who you identify with.
This is what types of sentiments will you be predisposed to, which then in the political landscape that exists in the U.S. make you choose between, I am liberal or conservative based on the U.S. This isn't, it makes you fiscally conservative or liberal, Lewis. This is just, you grow up in a certain way which makes you more empathetic to certain types of causes and not others, and that ends up, based on how politics are in the U.S., having you associate more with Democrats than Republicans. That's all it is.
I think things would get real interesting if we included our conversation about people thinking they're liberal or conservative, but actually being the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other layer. I'm getting emails from people saying it's silly to think that just a gene can make you a liberal. And again, that's not really what the study's saying. We're making that connection. But the study says there's a certain gene that can make you predisposed to think about life in a way that in everyday life in U.S. politics would lead you towards liberal politics. That's what we're saying. So the gene combined with positive social interactions make you more likely to seek out new experiences, i.e. to progress, to be progressive, which leads to liberalism, as opposed to not having the gene, which would maybe make you shy away from new experiences. I mean, I don't know, or otherwise want to kind of conserve, which is where we would get conservative. Is that making any sense?
It does make a little bit of sense, but I think overall, we've barely scratched the surface when it comes to research like this. Now, having the gene by itself won't make you liberal, but if you're liberal, it's very, very likely that you have that gene. Now, it's kind of weird, Lewis, because you are liberal. It's not clear who is, exactly where your politics are, but you were kind of an angry guy during high school, were you not? I mean, very into violent movies and the video games. Who isn't? Give me a break.
I don't think I was violent during high school.
You've played plenty of violent video games and watched plenty of violent movies.
Yeah, but it wasn't my thing. I mean, you really were into... I mean, at one point you said that you were into songs about death.
You know what? Almost every guy I grew up with was into violent video games, violent movies, violent shows.
I mean, we all played them, but I'm saying you were known for... Lewis in high school was known for being like the dark death metal... killing in video games, gore movies type of guy. That's not everybody. But you ended up, I don't know, you're pretty social now and you're pretty liberal too.
I was pretty social back then.
I guess so. The obvious thing now is, what's going to happen next with this liberal gene thing. It's the next conservative conspiracy theory. Follow me on this. Stem cell research. Many conservatives don't want it for a number of different reasons. Some which are based in fact and some which are just based in not fact. Let's leave it at that.
Okay.
The next conspiracy will be we can't do that liberal stem cell research stuff. You know why? because liberals are going to figure out a way to implant DRD4 into kids, and they're going to basically just start making it so that everybody who's born has a predisposition to be liberal. They're going to phase us out, Lewis. They're going to phase out the conservatives with this DRD4.
With science. Right.
I could see that happening. Couldn't you?
I could see a select few people thinking that might happen.
Subscribing to that conspiracy theory, not many.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The David Pakman Show is made possible by listeners like you and by Greenfield Savings Bank, building a strong community one account at a time, with neighborhood offices in Greenfield, Amherst, Conway, Shelburne Falls, South Deerfield, and Turners Falls, and online at greenfieldsavings.com. By the Daily Hampshire Gazette and GazetteNet.com, connecting our communities with local news and information. By DIF Design, specializing in custom business websites at DIFdesign.com. Find out more about underwriting The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.